Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, April 19th. Third hour on Friday on my show can only mean one thing. What just happened as we look back at the insanity of the week? And joining us now, two people I've known for a long time. One, Carmen Lynch, who's been on before recently. She's appeared on a bunch of late night shows, including The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Late Show with Stephen Colbert. You can see her YouTube special, Queef Week, online. Very funny stuff. And is always touring. Carmen, good to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm always excited to be on this. I have to actually watch the news and study to be on the show.
This actually requires homework. And also on for the first time ever, someone I've known for a long time. I haven't seen him in a long time. Amazingly successful, Emmy-nominated comedy writer, currently writing now for 7 years on the staff of Jimmy Kimmel Live. He's written jokes for the Academy Awards, the Comedy Central roast. He tours all over, and he's got a new book out, Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln, a nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett. Oh, those two are funny. Jesse, good to see you, my friend.
What's up, dude? It's been forever. How are you?
It's good.
And Carmen, too. It's been a long time. It's nice to see you both. This is a fun reunion. We're all just grayer well, not you, Carmen, but Dean. And actually, Dean, you're holding it together pretty well, too.
They got some, but look, I've got the Zoom setting at 1998, so I've got
that.
Right,
sure.
I do that, so
we all look the same.
We just dial it back. You know, comics don't
You
age.
have the clock on your wall or on your shelf from when you retired.
That's right.
The one they gave you in the factory.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said, Mark Maron years ago said, comedy is what you do as your friends get old. And the idea is comics remain sort of like children. We're Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, which you can pick what you want. I'm not here to choose gender roles.
I've seen some pretty old comedians. This shit ages you pretty significantly too. I've seen.
All that flying cannot be good for you.
Yeah,
no,
that's true.
Right in the air. All right, so let's talk about the big news story of the week, and it's ongoing. Donald Trump's criminal trial. It actually began. What do you think? Let's start with you, Carmen. Just the idea that Donald Trump, after all his attempts to stop this, put this off, whine, cry, whatever, he's actually on trial, and they have an entire jury, and they're close to being ready to start the case next week.
Wait, they found more than 5 people?
No, they have 12. They've sworn in the 12. One alternate. They're picking the rest of the alternates. We're there. He's on trial.
Crazy.
The people of New York versus Donald J. Trump will now come to order. That's exactly what we're going to hear in the courtroom on next week.
I don't know. I just don't feel like this is actually happening because we've been waiting for so long for this. And, you know, the history of celebrities actually going to jail. Look at OJ. He got away with it. So I don't know if this is actually going to turn into anything. It's fun to watch, but I mean, he falls asleep. He obviously doesn't care.
He's just lost it. Don't you wish? I wish the Law and Order theme was played in his courtroom, like when they open every day. The people of the state of New York versus Donald Trump, dun dun, and it's like that kind of stuff. Jesse, what is your take on? Did you wrote for a lot of roasts? Well, did you do one for Trump? Were you involved in the Trump roast?
Yeah, I wrote on that one. Yeah. What a piece of shit he was. Like it was literally like there's dozens of articles. Like it's like a mythic lore in the halls of Comedy Central, which you know is kind of a ghost town these days. But like that was the worst roast by far. Like everybody who worked on it from the top down, like the EPs, like all were kind of like, what a difficult asshole he was. Like he just made it hard, and he like thought he was funny and he wasn't. And he, I mean, there's like, you know, there was this is a good example of how like he would take jokes and he would inflate the numbers in the jokes. Like,
no, of course.
Like because he has this like just a compulsion. There was a joke about it was a wrap up thing about how he had caused all the problems in the world, like you know the bed bugs and scabies and you know famine and war. But it's not really his. Like he doesn't have to deal with it because he doesn't live here. He lives in a penthouse space station, like made of Italian marble, and like you know. He starts selling the space station then, like just about how beautiful it is and how luxurious and it's 150,000 square feet or whatever, that kind of thing. He fucking crosses out 150 and puts 300,000. Like he needed people to know that his fictitious space station was bigger. Like what's sort of fucking crazy. And so it was so difficult to do.
That's perfect. And I think that was part of his civil fraud trial. That he was just
that was the whole thing. So it's like I'm sure he did that. Like no, not only do I not have any doubt, I've seen him do it with jokes. Like of course he does. Right. But I agree with Carmen. Like I don't know how you find 12 people. Like you remember, like it was like national news. A guy in 2016, Ken Bone, like became a celebrity because he was like shockingly the only person who couldn't decide, who had no opinion on Donald Trump a month before the election. And like he became like this national fascination because there was like, how the fuck have you not made up your mind? And that was a decade ago. You know what I mean? So like, I don't understand how anybody now still.
I think it's right. By the way, our third comedian is here. This happens all the time. Comedians just drop in. It happens. Kate Willett is here, a comedian, actress, and writer, appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Netflix's comedy lineup, author of the Audible original Dirtbag Anthropology. Kate, thanks for being on.
Hey, thank you so much. I got the time zone confused, and Heidi let me know. Thank you so much for having me.
You're here with Jesse Joyce and Carmen Lynch, and we're talking about week 1 of the Trump trial. And just like, can you believe it's here? Is it meaningful yet? Is it significant, the fact that his trial actually began despite all of his efforts to end it, not make it happen?
I mean, it's like, to me, it's funny, and it would be very hilarious if there were any consequences, but I just feel like there won't be. And I don't know if that's like my own despair of like, yeah, these people just can do, these people, I mean like super rich people with a lot of power can do whatever they want, but it would be so funny if something happened. That would be hilarious.
So if he went to jail or he was held accountable on some level.
But
I think so. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, even if he went to jail, he'd probably like, I'm not in jail. This is not a jail.
Yeah.
Oh, he would say like, when I got here, it was the worst jail ever. Now best jail in America.
Yeah.
That's got all that stuff like my prison gang, best gang, unbelievable, the Orange Brotherhood.
But, I mean, I feel like Trump already is in a like a white supremacist gang, and it's called the GOP. But
right.
So,
it's MAGA. So let me getting at the point like Jesse was talking about, the finding 12 people in a jury who can be unbiased. Look, I despise Trump, but I wonder, I'm a former lawyer. If I got called for jury duty, I really wonder, like, if they said, could you be unbiased and look at the evidence, and if it's there, you convict him, and it's not, you don't. So Carmen, I mean, I don't think you're a big Trump fan, but like, could you be fair and impartial if they called you?
I would find it so entertaining and interesting to be a juror, but even if I tried to fake it, I feel like I'd have Tourette's and be like, evil, criminal. Like, I would try, but it would just come out. They'd be like, no. And plus, when you're a comedian, they never want you. Even when I go to jury duty, they're like, what do you do? Goodbye.
Oh, really? You've tried to get picked before and you haven't?
I mean, not tried to get picked, but just like, when you're called in and they ask you what you do. And,
but you're kind of like, oh, I hope they pick me, like that kind of thing.
Well, one time it was for criminal, and I was like, ooh, because I love crime shows, and I got picked for grand jury instead.
Oh, yeah.
I got the grand jury, but yeah, when it's interesting, I'm like, because you can kind of find out. But if it's usually, I'm just like, please don't pick me. But when I was unemployed and I was barely making money for stand up, I was like, what else am I gonna do? Maybe I'll get some material,
I went for jury duty a couple times here in New York, and I never got picked on a jury. But the first time was I was working on the production staff at Saturday Night Live. So they put me in the box and they go, what do you do? I said, I work at Saturday Night Live. And everyone just starts laughing. I'm like, what did I didn't say anything. I'm not a joke writer. And they're like, and the one lawyer's like, are you going to write a sketch about this? I go, well, if they would hire me as a writer, perhaps, but I'm on the production staff. And then they're like, okay, you can go. So that was the end of it. I wasn't entertaining enough, apparently. Like, I didn't even get past to like the callback for the jury duty. Like that was my audition. Jesse, have you ever got called for jury duty?
I have, but I've never had to actually physically go. Like I've had to call
Jimmy
in
Kimmel
a bunch
get
of
you out
times,
of it?
and they
no. Jimmy Call is like he's one of my writers. I need him. He can't go.
No, I dread it. I dread the concept of it. Like I would never. I regardless of this trial, I wouldn't want to on any trial. Like I don't.
Yeah.
And if I was ever somehow wrongfully accused of I absolutely would not have a jury trial. I would have a bench trial every time.
You would waive it.
Absolutely. Of course. Like, what? 12 dummies? Like, why would I ever? Like, can you imagine sitting, like, you're on an airplane? That's 12 people. Sit on an airplane and turn around and try to convince the next 2 rows of something. Like, there's no way. There's no way I would want just 12 random fucking people. I fundamentally disagree with the framers and whatever
Jesse's come
British
out against
system
the
before this.
Jesse's come out against the Constitution, which is rare. A
I'm
comedian's
not-
never
no,
done that before. But I appreciate
the
honesty.
idea of a jury trial makes it seems so silly to me. Like
so
I just
Kate,
there's
let me ask
whatever.
Kate, could you sit, if they called you on the Trump jury, could you put aside whatever political views you have about Donald Trump and go like, look, I'll be fair, I'll listen to the evidence, or can't do it?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't know if you were still asking Jesse. So no, I could not be fair. I would definitely convict him, because that would be so funny. And I want the funniest thing to happen, which is like why you should never put a comedian on a jury. I actually haven't been called, but no, I mean, it could be fair. Like in any other situation, I think I could be fair, because you know, it's like people's lives, and obviously it's very important to, you know, give everyone a fair trial. But there's really like, I don't know, like with Trump, like it's just, he's done all these things and he hasn't faced accountability for any of them. So it would just be way too tempting to like, you know, just be like, okay, like I'm convicting him, but I also would recuse myself because
You
of
would.
that.
You have to.
Yeah,
you
I
can,
wouldn't like try to serve on the jury. And also, like, I think it's gonna be like sort of dangerous for these people too if they convict him. I mean, there's gonna be like all these, you know, QAnon fellas and ladies really too, all throughout the country that, you know, are going to, you know, have their pictures and dox them, and you know, it'll be very dangerous to be on a jury that convicts Donald Trump, I think.
Marjorie Taylor Greene will come after you.
Yeah, exactly.
MTG. I think essentially like Kate gets called, they're like, your name, you're like guilty. It's like, wait, we haven't just asking if you could be impartial. Guilty. That man, that orange monster is guilty of crimes against humanity, whatever. And like, okay, you're gonna have to go.
Like,
and the state prosecutors will be like, she's fine. I think she's great.
Yeah.
Let her stay.
yeah. I
I
mean,
think she's open and honest to us. I don't know. Like you have to appreciate that kind of honesty and candidness. I think she'd stay in the jury. And Trump's lawyers are scream. Imagine how Trump would be screaming if that were to happen. Andy Borowitz is my friend, and I know you guys know Andy Borowitz. He writes the board.
yeah, he's great.
yeah.
And so he emailed me this morning a screen grab from one of the reporters. One of the jurors literally said, "I read the Borowitz report," and the the Trump's lawyer said the jury should be excused, and the judge goes no. So I'm like, Andy, you have a chance to write articles now to shape this jury, like little by little, satirical of you on the evidence, that kind of stuff. So he's very happy. He's very giddy about this. I'm not even kidding. It's really true. He emailed me this morning about it. I was like, I know him for a while.
I mean,
Because it's weird.
Wait,
Go ahead,
stop, Carmen. No, you go, Carmen. Then we'll go to Kate.
There's got to be one person on that jury that's like, I'm going to get through and I'm going to pretend I'm fair and balanced and blah, 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 blah. I mean,
Right away, fair and balanced is the Fox News things. They're like, I'm fair and balanced. Like, you're gone. Objection.
But then you have to sit around with like 11 other people that are just like, I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion. I don't read the news much. I don't like, like
what year is
that's
this?
what I mean. Like,
who's president?
But about any, you know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to get on, I'm really very still hot on this. Like, if like any trial, like if she's like, hey, do you have strong opinions about fraud? And they're just like, not really. I don't really know what that is. Like, that's the kind of people they want on a jury.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it's not the best 12 people in America. It's just like the 12 people who give middle of the road enough lame answers. You know, like
Well, what's interesting is they ask them
like
all
a
these questions, and that
system.
could be like red flags about bias. But at the end, they go, "Can you put that all aside and be fair in this case and look at the evidence?" They go, "Yep," and they go, "That's it, Judge." Like, okay, fine. And that's how it kind of worked. I used to be a trial lawyer. I picked juries. You were there, but it was never big. It wasn't high profile cases, like little cases, and little hit and run or like auto accident or these kind of cases or slip and fall. They're like, are you alive? You have a heartbeat? Okay. And have you ever sued someone before? That's all you really cared about. Anyone in your family ever get screwed over by a lawyer or a big company? And I was like, okay, let's just do this. And it's generally what you would expect. I'm not kidding. It's kind of amazing when you get a bunch of people in a room, how this common sense kind of dictates everything. It really is. It's, there's jury nullification. That was the OJ case. But generally, it's what you would think was going to come out happens. It's just kind of remarkable. Even though Jesse hates the Constitution, but Jesse, is there
don't hate the Constitution at all. I reject the idea of a jury trial.
All right, so
I don't
you
think
want Jesse Joyce wants Star Chambers, where you go back before in the old days where a judge was in a room and you hear nothing. It's like guilt. I know what you're
But the
getting
judge
at,
is
but I
the
said
one
you
who
had
knows
it.
the law. The judge like has read about what the law is, so the
Sure,
judge is the most
sure.
qualified person to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, so I think the judge would more whatever. Anyway.
Sure.
Wait, can we be honest here? Like, what are the
Please.
chances that someone will pay off someone to vote a certain way? I mean, Trump has so many connections. What are the chances? High?
Kate, what do you think? You think there's a chance we get a scenario where, like John Gotti,
He'll
they
pay
brought
off somebody and his pay off somebody.
$60,000.
That's
In this
crazy.
case, you've got billionaires who want Trump in office because he's giving them a tax cut. So they have a motivation to give $1 million to a jury.
I mean,
To
I
the
think
judge.
they might try it, but I feel like they would do it in like the stupidest way, and then it'll like come out, and then there'll be like a new trial about that, and like, you know, I mean, to me, it seems like it would be in his favor if something happens that makes this trial invalid, right? Because then he could be the president, he can't be tried while he's the president, and then, you know, I think the goal is to even have him be president longer than the 4 years. Like I looked at the Project 2025 stuff, and I don't think they'll be able to pull this off, but I think they want to remove the term limits. So I feel like his plan is to never serve time by just being in office. And so I feel like he will try to mess this trial up in some way, but I mean, I don't know if he'll be able to do it. So, you know.
I think the real thing too with the the billionaires, they don't buy jurors, they buy judges like Justice Clarence
good
Thomas.
point.
So that's who they buy off. The Judge Marshall will come in one day with a new private jet. He just flew in. You're like, how'd you get that jet? Oh, Harlan Crow, you know, Justice Thomas's benefactor just bought me that. He'd call him Mr. Big. This is, I'm chatting with Carmen Lynch, Kate Willett, and Jesse Joyce on what just happened. So Donald Trump has now fallen asleep 3 times. He fell asleep today. I'm not kidding. He did. And twice earlier. If Joe Biden fell asleep 3 times in a week at events, how do you think the corporate media would respond to that? Because here it's funny, late night hosts are doing some great jokes about it, but in reality, it would be forget the stamina. They'd be the 25th Amendment's got to be invoked. He's got to go. So, Carmen, I mean, what do you get the sense? What's up with Trump that he falls asleep? Like, does he not care? Is it a side effect of a medication? It's just 77? This is what happens? You just nap a lot when you're 77?
When I listen to my comedy sets, you know, to like hear what jokes I've done that work and all that, I always fall asleep. So in my own jokes, you know, so I feel like I'm just comfortable, and I've heard these jokes a million times. He's just in an environment where he's like, listen, I do bad things all the time. It's a good time for a nap. And he doesn't care. So either, you know, we got to shake things up a little bit, or he needs more Cokes. He needs to drink more Cokes.
That's Jesse. Should Biden troll him by sending like a blanket and a pillow and going, hey, Donald Trump, if you're going to sleep during the trial, at least make it on one of these Biden pillows or something like that. So what do you think about the sleeping? Like Kimmel had some good jokes about it, but besides just being fodder for comedy, or is that the worst thing for Trump, where that transcends politics, that transcends everything? People get it. They go, this guy can't stay awake for his own trial. How can he be president again?
Yeah.
Well,
oh, sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's a thing that it's so like partisan and tribal that, you know, we're all like, look at this fucking idiot sleeping in his trial. And they're like, look, would a guilty man be able to sleep like a baby in the middle of his trial? I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think this is going to move the needle one way or the other. It's just like, yeah, I figured he'd fall asleep. He's a fat old guy. You know what I mean? Like, sure. And everybody on his team is going to be like, look, what a 4D chess move, right? He cares so little. He can sleep like a baby. Like,
and by the way, just so
whatever.
you know,
I don't think
the old cliche from law enforcement is that if they put someone in a holding cell and they go to sleep and they can sleep, they're guilty. It's the innocent people who stay awake.
Yeah.
It's really the opposite. So the guilty person sleeps because they're at ease on some level. They're like, all right, finally, it's done. I don't have to worry about getting caught. I'm caught. It's kind of weird, isn't it? So, Kate, where do you come down on the whole sleeping thing? Maybe Trump comes out with a product like Trump Quill and tries to make some money off this, like a golden bottle of, you have a problem sleeping? I can sleep during a court setting. Get Trump Quill. And it's like golden signed by Donald Trump or Trump Z's or some garbage like that.
I feel like Trump and Biden are both like the real like contest is for them to not seem like old, like for them to just seem like mentally capable and not out to lunch or whatever, you know. And so I think whenever something happens that makes one of them seem really old, it's good for the other guy. You know, with Biden, it's like, you know, him, you know, forgetting that mixing up the president of Mexico and Egypt and stuff. And for Trump, it's like falling asleep. Like, I think that, you know, there's just like a lot of people in the country who are like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I just want someone to be the president that is not going to accidentally push the nuclear button.
Not fall asleep on the button.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing he can do to mess this up. He could sleep there. He could take a shit in the courtroom. Like, his fans are his fans.
It's interesting. So, Jesse, because you work for Kimmel, I want to touch on this with you, especially. So in the middle of the trial this week, Trump attacks Jimmy Kimmel and confuses him in a Truth Social post for Al Pacino and says that, you know, Kimmel, the idea that somehow Jimmy Kimmel messed up who the best picture was, and that was Al Pacino, and Jimmy Kimmel responded. So what can you share, man, as a Kimmel writer about what happened?
There's like 19 facts in that he got wrong. Like, and everybody was so delighted because it just shows that, like, in the dumbest possible way, who knows if it's moving the needle on what people in the country think, but what it is doing is it's bothering him a lot personally when we make fun of him. You know what I mean? And that is a reference to a joke he did 5 weeks ago, you know? And it bothered him at the time. Like, he was so annoyed that he wasn't getting any attention. Everybody was watching, like, all the people that he cares about impressing, like all the people in Hollywood, like all the rich and famous people, like, they think he's a dipshit. And so it makes him angry when an event like the Oscars goes on without him. You know what I mean? Like, they're handing out gold trophies. It has nothing to do with me. So he couldn't help himself, and he had to tweet a thing or whatever. And then we made fun of him for it. And that bothered him so much that he woke up 5 weeks later and was like, Jimmy Kimmel, you know what I mean? And like, that really is it. Like, at the end of the day, like, for whatever, I don't know if we're making a dent, but I know it's bugging him, and that's fucking terrific. So that's kind of how, like, we all gotta feel like we're all like, oh, neat. Like, he's still stewing about that. That's great.
Jimmy Kimmel, like any comedian, like if I did a joke and if I got under Trump's skin, I would be proud of it. I imagine Kimmel must feel some level of like, I can't believe this guy, but there must be an enjoyment in just the pain.
Oh, sure. I mean, he even said that. He's like, Donald Trump doesn't realize how much I absolutely love this. Like he said that very thing. Like, so yeah, I mean, he's so delighted by the fact that
it's the best credit to have. Trump's mentioned me.
So yeah.
Carmen, have you ever told? Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
No, just especially because you know what a thin skin. Everybody kind of knows what like a thin skin, you know, sad sack he is in general. And so, like, you know, you've seen him do that, like correct some, you know, some detail that some, you know, buddy got wrong. That's really, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Just some misprint. Right. In, you know, the New York Post, and then he'll rant about that for weeks, you know, like, so, you know, he's thin-skinned. And so then the idea that like like all of the people that he cares about the most, we're laughing at him. Like, it's just delightful because, you know, really it bothers him. Like, so that's really fun to know.
But it's crazy. It's crazy that he's so thin-skinned, but yet his lies are so just huge. Like, the ratings were the worst for the Oscars ever, when in fact they went up. Like, why are you saying this? It's so easily like fact checked, and he just says it like it's the truth. It's insane.
But on some level, you know, Carmen, I think, to be honest, Donald Trump getting convicted troubles him a bit. Him becoming a human punchline again, and that's what he was at one point, I think is more difficult for him. This is a guy who literally called for Saturday Night Live to be canceled when he was a candidate and in office, tweeted, because I wrote about it, the FCC should investigate SNL for mocking him. He lashed out as president against Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, you know, and I think he sued Bill Maher for a joke once years ago. I'm not even kidding. He sued for $5 million over a joke comparing Trump's mother to an orangutan. And this is the insanity. So I actually think, Carmen, like for Trump, a conviction is one thing. His followers will get over. But when you want to be an autocrat, a dictator, you want to be feared. You don't want to be laughed at. And I think that's his greatest nightmare, is becoming a punchline again.
But don't you think he knows that any attention is attention, whether it's negative or positive? Like, he's such a narcissist that you don't think, like, the fact that he even wanted his face on Mount Rushmore is like such a ridiculous.
But he thinks he really believes that he should be like, but that's my but I think like, no, because he canceled the correspondence dinners. Like, that's how fucking sensitive he is about the concept of being made fun of. And I, like, on his own roast, like, he wouldn't acknowledge any of the joke, like, you know, that's he's supposed to do the rebuttal, and he was like, I don't want to do jokes about my hair. And it's like, what? Like, that's like, it was the easiest, it was the softest landing possible, and he's just like refused to even acknowledge that would be a thing that people might make fun of about him, you know. So yeah, I genuinely, I mean, there's a direct line that people have made, like a school of thought that, like, this is from the Obama correspondence dinner when he got made fun of,
and Seth Meyers
to him like deciding, like, fuck you, I'm gonna, you know what I mean, like, I'll show you all, like, nobody laughs at me, you know, like.
And so, I interviewed Seth. I mean, I know Seth, but I interviewed him about it, and he said years later he saw Trump, and Trump was angry at him still from the White House correspondence dinner, and he was taken aback. He couldn't believe it. He thought it was like a bit or something, and it wasn't. Like, that's how upset he is about comedians and everyone laughing at him. It's kind of deep-seated. So Kate, have you ever told a joke about someone famous or even unfamous, and they came back and challenged, like, why did you do that? That's really painful to me.
I don't think so, actually. No, I don't think I have had that experience, but I may have that experience very soon.
Why? What's going on?
I'm releasing a special on Monday, and I take this special right after a breakup, and it's full of like very sick burns about this one dude. And
by name?
I'm not gonna say his name. No, I don't have his name in there, but you know, it's been a while since I taped that special. Like, I just celebrated my anniversary with someone else, literally. So, but like, I don't know, like, just because of the strike and the production process and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, we'll see what he thinks or something. I don't know.
It would be even more awkward if you'd gotten back together and all this time, like that big lag, and then you're back. That's what you think of me? I know, but I'm saying, like, what? Because you said the strike, like, what had happened? You did all this stuff. It's like when you're friends, you break up and your friends badmouth the person, and you go back dating them, and you're like, oh, that awkward. You're like, oh, you didn't have to be honest. But so, what's the name of the special, by the way?
My special is called Loopholes. And it's going to be loopholes, like finding a loophole, as you probably did when you were, as Trump is probably trying to do right now. It's going to be on Amazon and Apple TV.
Yay.
On Monday.
On Monday. That's great.
Way to go. That's cool.
Awesome.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna have Jesse talk about, when we come back, for a minute, his book, and then later again I'll have you guys plug whatever you want. But let's take a quick break. Be right back with more of what just happened on the Dean Obeidallah Show. And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're continuing our conversation here, Friday, April 19th, with Carmen Lynch, Kate Willett, and Jesse Joyce. So, Jesse, I want to touch for a minute, because you have a new book out, Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln, a nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett. And share a little bit about this book. I saw some interviews of you talking about it. It was very funny stuff.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, nice, concise title, right? Yeah, everybody loves that.
That's the funny part, too.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, but if you're like, kind of a weigh in for people who might not know, is currently there's a show on Apple TV called Manhunt, and that is about the pursuit for John Wilkes Booth after he killed Lincoln. And so half of this book is about, it's basically the aftermath of the Lincoln assassination, is what my book is too. It's a comedy book, so like, this is not to be used in any academic research going forward, and there's far too many F-bombs for anybody to actually quote it in a thesis. But it is a story about two really goofy guys, real men, who were on, just sort of in the world of the Lincoln assassination. And it's Edwin Booth, who I don't know if you were aware of. Are you aware of who Edwin Booth was?
Related to John Wilkes Booth?
He was John Wilkes Booth's way more famous brother, more famous.
Was he the actor?
Yeah, he was an actor. Their dad was an actor. Their dad was super famous, and then Edwin was the superstar. Like, he was there. No one. He was the most famous man in America. Edwin was, And
Wow.
John was just this shitty hanger-on wannabe, like a lesser Baldwin, you know what I mean? Or like one of the dumb Hemsworths. Like he was just like kind of there. Like he was desperately trying to be taken seriously, but like he was not a good. It's this Southern revisionist history that John was this great actor. Like he absolutely was not. Like John was a loser, and so when he assassinated Abraham Lincoln the next day, the way people talked about it was, did you hear Edwin Booth's brother killed the president? Like that's how that was framed,
Wow.
right?
That must have driven
So-
him nuts.
Who, John?
Yeah, right? Because they didn't
Well,
mention his name.
but John knew for sure, and it drove Edwin nuts too, because like, you know, Edwin was, he was an egotistical guy. He was a decent guy, but like he had nothing to do with it. But at the end of the day, Edwin knew like, well, he's fucked me forever because of this preamble I just had to give just now, 160 years later.
So
Like,
this,
I bet you don't know there was a guy named Edwin, and that's the point.
No.
Is that no one
that's
remembers
crazy.
Edwin
That
anymore.
would be like Kevin Brennan killing someone and they go, Neil Brennan's brother killed someone, and Kevin would go crazy. And if you don't know Kevin, he's actually a comedian. I know Kevin. Like I remember busting his chops once. I'm like, oh, look, it's Neil Brennan's brother. And he got mad at me. Like, really? I'm like, okay.
Most likely sibling
let's
too killed someone too, by the way. So good call.
But-
But
yeah.
no, but so the book is half about him and half about Boston Corbett, who is my favorite 19th century person. He's this lunatic who was a Mad Hatter, who that's a real thing. Did you guys know that making hats made people crazy? And it's because they steamed hats in liquid mercury. And so people would sit in a room and just breathe in mercury vapor all day and get mercury poisoning, and that puts holes in your brain.
Jesse
So
with the big brain.
He's
This
so
is
smart.
really
This is
impressive. It's like
embarrassing.
Brad with the big brain on the 30th anniversary of Pulp Fiction.
So that's what, like, that's how that term came about, Mad Hatter, because Lewis Carroll was kind of the first person, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, was like the first person to go like, hey, has anybody ever noticed that the guy who makes your hats is fucking crazy? And everybody was like, yeah, my hat guy's nuts too. And that's when they started putting it together. Like, there must be something about how we're making hats that's really fucking these guys up. So anyway, so Boston Corbett was a Mad Hatter who then found Jesus, who then became a homeless guy, and while he was on the street, he was propositioned by a couple prostitutes, and that upset him, and he got really horny about it, and he got angry about that, and he went home and he read that part of the Bible that says that if your eye offends you, you should pluck it out, or if your hand is keeping you to stray from God, you should cut it off. So he went home and he got a pair of scissors and he cut off his balls. So that guy, yeah, and then he didn't go to the hospital. He just kind of walked around Boston, the city, like just kind of hanging out, and some people were like, hey man, your dick's bleeding, and so they took him to the hospital and he almost died. And then as soon as he gets out of the hospital, the Civil War starts, and he joins up with this. He joins the Union Army and becomes like a super soldier. And like he's like one of the sort of most, just sort of like strident, like he's one of the most like aggressive dudes in the unit and stuff. And he's just like a super soldier. And as soon as Lincoln's assassinated, he gets sent to Andersonville prison, and he's like one of the only people to survive that place. And then he gets out of that, and then Lincoln's killed at the end of the war. And he's the first guy to volunteer to chase John Wilkes Booth down, and he hunts him down for 12 days to a barn and shoots him in the head. So delightful,
that's the book,
hilarious.
folks. Killing the guys
I
who kill the
still
guy who killed
hilarious.
Lincoln. It sounds
Yeah,
great though.
It's a hoot.
It
by
does.
Jesse
Yeah.
Joyce. Get it?
It's a great title.
It is a
Yeah.
great
Oh,
title.
thank you.
So
Well,
let's
you know
talk
how
about.
like you know how Bill O'Reilly has that whole like
Sure, I know the killing
stupid
series.
the
He's
killing
amazing.
series. So
Yes.
I was kind of trying to do that because
I got it.
at
No,
first it's like,
I
oh,
love
killing
it.
Kennedy, and that's fine. But then he goes like killing Patton. Nobody killed Patton. You know what I mean? It gets lame. So
by a
that's what I
car.
thought.
Not that, yeah,
Look.
not as good. All right, so let's talk
Right.
about something else being killed right now, and it's the Republicans want to kill TikTok, and Republicans can't agree in the House on Ukraine aid, but they can all agree on ending TikTok. I looked up all three of you. Carmen, you have the most TikTok followers. You have like 225,000. So you obviously did something on TikTok to get Republicans to want to ban TikTok. What can you share about Republic? And now there are some Democrats joining them, but it was led by Republicans. What's your sense of why they want to ban it?
They just
You.
hate my wigs. They hate all my wigs. I was doing TikTok a lot during the pandemic because I was just extremely bored with no comedy, no stand-up. And I don't think I've posted maybe in 2 months. Who knows? I haven't really looked, but the algorithm is different, and I'm mad. I get so mad at these social media outlets. Like they just change their algorithm, and then I'm like, fuck you. You used to like I'll have a video that has like 5 million views and the next one has 500. And then I just get angry because I've wasted so much time looking. So honestly, if
Being
TikTok
shadow
was,
banned.
if TikTok was banned, I probably wouldn't care right now. But it is a weird thing that it comes up as much as like, you know, helping the Ukraine or something. It's just, it's so
Can I
stupid.
just say, I wish I could get 500 views on TikTok. I have 170 followers. My top video maybe has 500 views. I don't even
But
understand
they're
it.
very loyal, Dean. They're far more
Right.
loyal
Yes,
than
they
Carmen's
are.
5 million.
I just
Yes.
throw it up there. And so Kate, are you concerned? Like, what's next? They're going to ban TikTok. They say it's for the Chinese government ties to it. I'm like, I'm not sure really that's really what it's about. So what's your
Yeah.
sense?
I think that I think the reason that they want to ban it is because younger people like have become a lot less reliant on mainstream media, like, New York Times or CNN or whatever. And like, a lot of times people are, seeing like, for example, like, primary source videos of like the things that are being reported on. And, I think that like they would really like to, have, in my opinion, like a higher level of ability to influence the younger generations, which, if you look at polling on many issues, they have, dramatically different views on like just on all kinds of issues than older ones. But like they say that it's not like a full ban. They say they're going to try to force the sale of
To a
TikTok
Republican
to like an
billionaire?
American company.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
a
and I
Republican
mean, I also
billionaire.
think that like Zuckerberg is probably lobbying a lot for this. Like I don't think that the American tech companies want a competitor, so that's probably a huge factor here as well.
Well, that'll teach those kids for putting up videos of Gaza, right? We can't
Yeah.
let people see what's really going on in Gaza. So that's the
Yeah.
end of that right there. I think there's a lot of things intersecting at the same time, which is kind of odd. And we'll see. But I think they're actually going to put in this bill, and President Biden said he was going to sign it. And it might, at the very least, force the sale and send a message to other places. You got to tweak your algorithm because you can't show images of Gaza like that. That's unbelievable. That's destroying a narrative. So.
Yeah.
So let's continue on here. I'm chatting with Carmen Lynch, Kate Willett, and Jesse Joyce. So college basketball. Any of you guys follow female college basketball? You guys know who Caitlin Clark is?
Yeah, but I don't follow it, but I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Well,
everybody knows.
I
who she
wasn't
is.
accusing
Yeah,
you of in a
so.
creepy way of like whatever.
No. But
you follow women's college basketball.
But I did
Uh-huh.
just go. I was back home where my parents are from Pittsburgh. So just over Easter, we went back to Pittsburgh. And my college, Duquesne University, was in the women's team was in the NIT. And we went. And there's only like, whatever, I don't know, 300 people in the whole 500, in the whole arena. It was the fucking most exciting sporting event I've ever been to in my life.
Really?
It was unbelievable. And I took my 2 small kids and they were like so delighted. And like I caught a t-shirt from the mascot, which I never do
Nice.
because but there's only 300 people. So the odds are pretty good. I could catch a t-shirt and I did. And they're waving it around and they fucking pulled it off like in overtime. It was so goddamn exciting. So I am very like, oh my God, women's college basketball is fucking amazing. So yeah, anyway.
There were people on like ESPN, talking about how the women's college basketball tournament was much more exciting than men's. I mean, it ended up just being a
got more
coronation
viewers.
again
Yeah.
of UConn for the men. It was sort of like boring. There was some excitement early on, but then it just became like a normal thing. Women. So to sum up what happened here, Caitlin Clark set new records as a female basketball player, NCAA basketball. And so she signs WNBA's team. She's
Just
number
as
one
a basketball
draft
player, by the way. Sorry,
But-
but like she is the highest leading scorer regardless of gender.
Right, you're right. In the history of college basketball, of
Crazy.
anything, men
Yeah.
or women, there was a ball and a hoop involved, she set the record. So she's the number one draft pick, and she got a salary of $76,000, which you're
Yeah.
like, what? And then for the San Antonio Spurs, their star in the NBA, for example, got $55 million for a 4-year contract, $12 million his first year, and she got $76,000 her first year, $78,000 the second year, and it's all sort of what you can get. And the WNBA is like, well, we don't know what to say, but she'll make more in endorsements, which is true. But this is unbelievable. And, at the outset, I should say that I am paying Jesse Joyce 5 times what I'm paying you 2 women to be
Yes.
on, which is everyone gets nothing.
So
As
he's
it-
getting
as it
5
should be.
cents. Okay.
He's getting
As it
5
should be.
cents, and the rest of you are getting a penny. But Carmen, what about this? I mean, look, I don't want to pigeonhole you, but you're a woman, right? So what's
and
going
I'm
on?
6 feet tall, and
You're
my
si-
name also starts with C.
Right. And did you
I
play basketball? Were you no?
No, but I've been kind of angry about that for years. I grew up in Spain, and honestly, sports weren't that big of a thing. So when I moved to America, it was kind of not too late, but I just wasn't into it. I just ran track. But I kind of wish I had, because I mean, back then I would have made 30,000 a year, while men were making 5 million. So
And the
I
same
really
traveling, you would travel just as much as a comic. You have to travel from city to
Yes.
city. It's like semi-pro with Will Ferrell, that movie. Like you're just out there doing these things. Carmen,
But-
did you do a joke about someone saying, "Don't you play basketball?" And you're like,
they
"Aren't you a
ask me all the
jockey?"
time. Yes. I used to do a joke that would be considered fat shaming.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, really? You ask tall people if they play basketball, but you don't ask a well-rounded woman, is not what I said, if she is in the opera? That was one of my first jokes.
But that's not really fat shaming, but we're not going to get into it. You're canceled. Though. HR just called me. They're like,
It's
you can't
sort of
have
opera shaming more than anything.
Opera shaming.
which
But
they
I
deserve.
mean, I just want to say something really fast. You know how we get bonuses if we sell out a comedy club?
I don't know what that feels
Does
like,
she
but go
get-
ahead.
I don't
Yes.
either, but I
But go
see it
ahead.
on the contract. But is there any chance that she, besides all these endorsements she's going to get, is she going to get more money if like it fills up?
I guess it's
I'm
they call us a
sure.
base salary. They call us a base salary, right? So the WNBA, they became defensive, and it's not. I guess they should be in a certain way, but they're like, it's a base salary. There are bonuses involved, and she already has $3 million in endorsements. Like, but you're not paying her that, and the guy from the NBA is going to get much more in endorsements. But so I mean, okay, Jesse, what were you going to say here?
Well, I was gonna say is though, like if I was the WNBA, I'd be like, well, all right, well, how many fucking women's basketball games have you been to? Go.
Boom.
Like,
Right.
why do you
Exactly.
think we're not like? I don't not want to pay them more. Go to the fucking game. You know what I mean? Like that's why, like I just said, like we went to the women's NIT game. There was like 400, 300, 500 people there. That's it. You know what I mean? Like people don't go. But I think that Caitlin Clark is gonna kind of potentially has the potential to like turn the tide on this. That people will be if she's like has a good season, that it will start drawing more people to this is the biggest thing to happen to the WNBA, like so like I think that maybe this will start bringing people out, and then people will start buying tickets, and then salaries can go up, but
Kate,
yes, I was very surprised
Kate,
that she basically makes a dental hygienist salary.
Her salary's $76,535. They couldn't even round it up to 77,000. I mean, that's that troubles me right there. What do you think?
That might be,
it's very like like an HR. It's like a salary like an HR person did, calculating all the percentages and stuff like that. I don't know. I agree with Jesse that hopefully there'll be more fans, more people buying tickets. I feel like having like stars can really boost a sport, like Megan Rapinoe did for soccer. But yeah, I don't know. I never had a chance of being a basketball player. I'm only 5'1", so I guess people were like, I don't know, if you knew how to ride a horse, you could be a jockey or something. I don't know.
Is that short enough? I don't even know how the height requirement is. So, have you ever gotten paid less as a female comic? Have you ever had a sense that men were getting paid more?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean,
Really?
like with all the like comedy club salaries and stuff like that, like they pay, I think, everyone really differently, and a lot of times it's based on like an estimate of how many tickets they think that you can sell or whatever. But I think that there's a lot of things that go into it, and for sure, I think depending on the book, or like paying women less can absolutely be a thing.
The worst is when you find out, though, when someone just kind of says it, because they're not trying to brag, but they just assume you're making the same, and you're like, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Yeah. Well, look, we got a few minutes left. I'd love you guys to have a chance to plug what you're working on. Jesse already did the book, so you can't redo the book. But Kate, you mentioned before the break, you have a special coming out. Just remind people again, what's the title of the special and where can they find it?
So the special is called Loopholes. It'll be available on Amazon and Apple TV. It's like 45 minutes long. It's, jokes about like, sexuality, relationships, political stuff. I think it's fun. It's quick, easy, fun. So please watch it. It's called Loopholes. And I would really appreciate if you checked it out.
By the way, why is it on Amazon and Apple? Those are two different platforms.
Yeah, it's your comedy dynamics. It's gonna be, you know, I think on a few different platforms or whatever, but they're starting
That's
with it there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Carmen,
Cool.
your special is on YouTube. I know it's very funny stuff. It's been out for a few months.
It's been out for a few months. It's on Mark Norman's YouTube channel, but it's pinned to mine. So if you just go to my YouTube channel, you can watch Queef Week, and my Spanish one is coming out May 28th. And it's titled Carmen Lynch en Español, and it is coming out on my YouTube channel.
And how do you
so
say that in
funny.
Spanish for the Spanish?
Wait,
May-
I went
May?
to the, can I try?
Sure. May
Oh
25th.
shit, I forget what 20 is. But Mayo is May. I got that.
Mayo,
Oh,
like Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, right.
28
de Mayo.
Sí.
Right?
That's good.
Ah,
And you said
see,
it.
I knew it. Fuck
And
yeah,
you
I
said
haven't
it
done
in a
this since high school.
sing-songy of like Canal 41. That's how you did. I love it very much. And
Sorry, I didn't mean to just wedge
no,
it,
and Carmen, if
No,
people
it's
want to follow
great.
you, where can they see like your tour? Because I know you're touring all the time. I see on Instagram and everything.
but
At Carmen Comedian, and yeah, I put all my dates on at Carmen Comedian, and go to Punch Up Live or CarmenLynch.com for my dates.
And Jesse, what about you? Where can
I-
people find your book and follow your work?
yeah, I forgot to tell you where you can get the book. It's on
There we go.
a service called Everand. So thank you for doing that, Dean. Everand is like the Netflix of books, right? So it's the largest, it's a huge collection of like ebooks and audiobooks, and I read the audiobook as well. And it's a great where you it's a subscriber service, and it's very reasonable, and then it works just like Netflix. You pay a monthly or whatever, and then I think you get a month free, and then you could just you get access to the whole library of everything, and they have originals from a lot of people like myself, but like more importantly, like Stephen King and Margaret Atwood have originals that are only through Everand. Like, so it's a neat service because you can, and then there's an app and you can just listen to a billion audiobooks, and
That's great.
you know, so yeah,
Check
so
that
that's where you
out
can get it.
and check out. And are you touring much? Can people follow you on tour? Or?
No, not really, because I have 2 kids and I have Kimmel, so like I don't like. But during the strike, I was, and as the kids get less likely to shit their pants every day, I am. They're like 15 and 17 now, so I think we're getting close. No, I'm just kidding. They're 6 and 7, or they're 6 and 5. So anyway, I'm more likely to. Yes, I'm gonna. I have been doing stuff around here and would like to branch out and get back to it. So
Well, it's great, Jesse. It was great seeing you again. It's been many, many years.
Thanks. Yeah,
Kate, nice
this was
meeting you.
delightful.
Carmen,
Nice
good
to meet you,
again.
and nice to meet you,
Good to
Jesse.
see
And I already
you.